Six Flags New England has a coaster collection that ranges from dreadfully awful all the way to really good, but no coaster is perfect, and because we're coaster enthusiasts and we love to complain and nitpick, here's how to improve every coaster at Six Flags New England. I want this video to be somewhat grounded in reality, so here are the rules for this video. Every improvement has to be within reason, so not every coaster can be a giga, and I'm actually going to limit it so I can only increase one coaster's max height, and I have to keep the ride's layout mostly the same, so I can only add one or maybe two elements. Now that that's out the way, let's get into the improvements. B&M floorless coasters are really underrated, and this is one of the best examples of that. It's a coaster that doesn't let its foot off the gas from the first drop until the brakes. This coaster is non-stop action, and while this coaster is on the shorter side, it's not really that big of a deal. Really, my only issue with this coaster is the ending. The ending on this coaster is the standard floorless interlocking corkscrew ending, and there's just something about that that rubs me the wrong way. It's a rough and bland ending to a coaster that's really unique, and so to improve Batman, I've replaced the corkscrews with a dive loop or an implement. It might make the coaster shorter, but it would end it off in a really solid way. This is a surprisingly good family coaster with comically long trains. Because this is a family coaster, I can't really do much to improve it, but the lift tail is stupidly slow, so I'd make that go a little faster. This coaster is one of the worst coasters that I have ever ridden. I've never been jumped before, but this coaster is what I imagine that feels like. I was beaten throughout the entire ride experience, and I got off with a terrible headache. I would improve this coaster by tearing it out. There's no saving this ride, and I feel like even if they replaced it with a bathroom, it would still be a better experience. Wild Mouse coasters are super hit or miss. I'm not a big fan of them, but I know some people are. And while it may not make people like me enjoy riding it, adding more padding so the crazy laterals around those turns are more comfortable would be a really nice change. This is another kiddie coaster, but this one actually has regular sized trains. Coasters like this are ones that I can't really think of improvements for, and so the only improvement that I can really think of is to add another lap, so I'll go with that. This Joker is the worst Joker clone that I have ever ridden. I'm not sure why, but it felt like I was never flipping on this coaster. I would get the two force flips, but other than that, I'd just rock back and forth, and because of that, instead of feeling crazy and out of control like most 40 free spins, this one was just boring. And so I'd improve the coaster by making you flip more. These Gerstlauer spinning coasters are decently underrated, and I wish we saw more of them. This one is just as good as all the others, providing a disorienting and fun experience with a crazy underrated pop of air towards the end. With coasters like this, the amount of spinning you get basically equals how much fun the ride is going to be, so to improve this coaster, I would just make it spin more. SLCs get a bad rap. Sure, some of them are downright terrible, but other ones like this are good. I think it mostly comes down to this one actually having good restraints and not these torture devices. But these restraints do have a downfall though. They snap you back into your seats after the brakes, but I think this is mostly because of how hard these brakes hit. So to improve this coaster, I'd make the brakes a little bit more gentle so you can get off without being snapped back into your seat. This is a coaster that I think may be a little overrated. Don't get me wrong, the layout's good, but one of the best in the world? I'm not sure about that. Maybe it's just because I wasn't able to experience it in all of its glory because of the awful restraints. The restraints on this coaster may just be the worst in the entire world, even worse than SLC's. Superman's restraints don't seem like they were designed for humans. They manage to be painful and prevent any sort of airtime, so the easy improvement for this coaster is just to get better restraints. This is a coaster that I didn't ride. For better or for worse, I prioritized getting rides in on the bigger coasters in the park, and because I didn't ride it, I can't talk from experience about the elements on the actual ride that may or may not need improvement. What I can talk about though is the restraints. That's right, a third restraint complaint in a row. Make sure you like and subscribe for this completely original improvement idea. But in all seriousness, PTC restraints aren't really that bad. I personally get the pointy end of the stick when it comes to them because I have larger thighs, but for the most part they are completely tolerable. That being said, replacing them with a different restraint from GCI or the Gravity Group would be nice to see. This is one of the best coasters ever made. This coaster is just rapid fire amazing element after amazing element, and it doesn't really let up until the final lap. Unfortunately, this coaster has burnt off most of its speed by the end, so it can crawl through during that final lap. It's not that bad. If you ride later in the day once it's warmed up, this section still delivers airtime, but if the lift was 10 or 20 feet taller, it would have a bunch more speed to work with, making this ending so much better. And to see how I would improve every coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, that video is right there.